Hello, and welcome to gusmcdoll Strategy and Tactics, and thank you to our subscribers. In this series, we use German missions from the game Firefight to illustrate World War II German tactics at the company level and below. In this campaign, we are playing through Operation Barbarossa as the Germans, with 9 battles over the course of June and July 1941. In this episode, Drang Nach Osten at Voskhod Railway Junction continued the advance into the heartland of Russia. A group of enemy units is stubbornly holding out at Voskhod. The railway junction at the small village of Voskhod is a vital link for transporting supplies to our units and must remain in our hands. It is surrounded by open fields and woodland. In each battle, we conduct basic mission analysis, develop and analyse possible courses of action, then decide and execute the plan in real time, followed by lessons learned. Please remember to like the video, comment, and subscribe for more great strategy and tactics content. And if you want to show your support with a donation, the links are in the description. This is a map of the battle space, overlain with terrain features in red. If you are interested, these maps are available in the game folder. Voskhod Railway Junction is nestled in a small bend in the river that runs north-south. The main road runs parallel to the river but crosses the river at a bridge in the village of Voskhod. Wood Hill, south of the village, overlooks Nizhny Voskhod or Lower Voskhod, where the road runs west from a T-junction to a rail crossing. The railroads from the south and from the northwest pass a windmill and Sentinel Hill and meet at the junction in Voskhod, where trains stop at the station before continuing over the rail bridge. The wooded hills interspersing the area restrict observation to within the small valleys and along the road and rail corridors. This also restricts fields of fire and makes the roads and railways obvious fire lanes for longer-range weapons, such as anti-tank guns and machine guns. The hills also provide cover and concealment, either for troops advancing towards the village or for troops defending from the woods. The single-storey wooden buildings in Voskhod and Nizhny Voskhod also provide limited cover. The river is an obvious obstacle to mounted and dismounted movement, with crossings restricted to the road and rail bridges. Vehicle movement is channeled by the woods onto the roads and railroads. As such, there are 3 avenues of approach. To the east, through the open farmland east of the river. In the centre, up the road between the wooded hills and past Nizhny Voskhod. And to the west, along the railroad and past the rail crossing and windmill. The locations that can constrain or prevent movement along these avenues of approach are therefore key terrain for attacker and defender. Nizhny Voskhod, the road and rail bridges, Windmill Hill, Sentinel Hill, and the wooded hill north of the village of Voskhod. Thankfully, Voskhod Railway Junction is held by light forces, the rearguard of a retreating Soviet army. Reconnaissance tells me to expect a Soviet infantry platoon. The infantry platoon will likely consist of 3 infantry squads. And a support platoon is likely to include heavy machine guns, anti-tank guns, mortars, and anti-tank rifles. Importantly, I'm not expecting to encounter any tanks or other armoured vehicles. The Soviets only have light defences to cover a large area and multiple avenues of approach. Therefore, I assess the Soviets could defend the Voskhod railway station with a 2-up, 1-back defence. 2 infantry sections could defend both wooded hills south of Voskhod and overlooking Nizhny Voskhod, with a 3rd infantry section in depth near the station. They could be supported by an anti-tank gun at Sentinel Hill, able to engage forces moving up the road or along the railroad or across the road bridge. A 2nd anti-tank gun could be found on the hill north of the village, also overlooking the road and railroad. And a heavy machine gun could be in the village, covering down the road. A mortar could be in depth, firing from a defilade position. The Soviets could also place an anti-tank gun covering Nizhny Voskhod, firing over the rail crossing towards the T-junction. And a heavy machine gun somewhere near Windmill Hill, covering the approach along the railroad. These locations would have good fields of fire, but any forces here would be exposed and on their own without a security element. These would be good locations for tanks. Under my command is a German Panzer Grenadier Company. The tank platoon consists of 2 Panzer 35T, a Panzerjäger 1, and a Panzer IV Ausführung E. 2 infantry platoons each contain 2 infantry sections. And support platoon consists of a Sonderkraftfahrzeug 231, and a Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251-1 Ausführung B. Battalion Headquarters has promised 3 Sturmgeschütz 3 Ausführung B as reinforcements. I do not have any mortar to provide indirect fire, but I do have on-call artillery with high explosive and smoke rounds. One option is for the Germans to avoid the obvious routes and advance east of the river. The panzers would form the advance party for battalion. The infantry would form an infantry point and move up to 500 metres ahead of the panzers, clearing the woods and hills. With the panzers then moving up to the hills east of Voskhod, the infantry would assault the village across the road bridge and seize the railroad station. German artillery would put a barrage onto the suspected anti-tank gun location on Sentinel Hill, or onto the village. The risk with this plan is that the river crossing is a single point of failure. If the infantry or panzers cannot get across the road bridge or the rail bridge to the north, the entire attack will fail. A second option is for the Germans to advance along the railroad. The panzers would form the advance party for battalion. The infantry would form an infantry point and move up to 500 metres ahead of the panzers, clearing the woods either side of the railroad. Once the infantry point reached the phase lines indicated by dotted lines, the panzers in the advance party would close up. Before the infantry advance, German artillery would put barrages on suspected anti-tank gun or heavy machine gun positions along the route, at Windmill Hill and Sentinel Hill. Once Voskhod was secure, the infantry would then clear the hills to the northwest. But this plan would not clear Nizhny Voskhod or the hills south of the village. Soviet infantry could remain in these defensive locations and effectively continue to deny the railroad junction to the Germans. A third option is for the Germans to advance up the road. The panzers would form the advance party for battalion. The infantry would form an infantry point and move up to 500 metres ahead of the panzers, clearing the woods either side of the road. Once the infantry point reached the phase lines indicated by dotted lines, the panzers in the advance party would close up. As the infantry advanced, German artillery would put a barrage on the suspected anti-tank gun position along the route, at Sentinel Hill or in Voskhod itself. Once Voskhod was secure, the infantry and panzers would then clear the hills to the northwest. This plan would secure the railroad junction and clear the road from the south, Nizhny Voskhod, the wooded hills, the village of Voskhod, and the 2 bridges. The squad in the advance guard. The advance guard is organised into a support and an advance party. For security, the latter sends an infantry point ahead about 500 yards. The distances between the infantry point and the advance party are such that the smaller formation can receive timely support from the following unit.
Achtung!
This is Voskhod Railway Junction area. Nizhny Voskhod and the woods to the south. The objective is the railway station in the village of Voskhod, west of the river. Let's review our forces using the information panel on the bottom right of the screen. This shows soldier statistics and vehicle controls. Unit 1 is an infantry section. It is equipped with machine pistol 40 submachine guns, carabiner 98K rifles, steel hand granata, and an MG34 machine gun. It is commanded by Unteroffizier Hahn. Unit 2 is also an infantry section. It is commanded by Unteroffizier Funk. Unit 3 is an infantry section. It is mounted in the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251. It is commanded by Unteroffizier Pohl. Unit 4 is an infantry section. It is commanded by Lieutenant Schilling. Unit 5 is an infantry section. It is commanded by Lieutenant Botcher. Unit 6 is a Panzer 35T. It is equipped with a 3.7cm Kampfwagen Kanon 34 L40 gun and MG 37T machine guns. It is commanded by Lieutenant Maurer. Unit 7 is a Panzer 35T. It is equipped with a 3.7cm Kampfwagen Kanon 34 L40 gun and MG 37T machine guns. It is commanded by Lieutenant Kramer. Unit 8 is a Panzerjäger 1. It is equipped with a 4.7cm Panzerabwehrkanon T. It is commanded by Unteroffizier Martens. Unit 9 is a Panzer IV Ausführung E. It is equipped with a 7.5cm Kampfwagen Kanon 37 L24 gun and MG 34 machine guns. It is commanded by Unteroffizier Binder. Unit 10 is a Sonderkraftfahrzeug 231 Schwerer Panzersparwagen, or Heavy Armoured Reconnaissance Vehicle. It is equipped with a 2cm Kampfwagen Kanon 30 L55 gun and MG 34 machine gun. It is commanded by Lieutenant Böhm. He is in overall command of the operation. Unit 11 is a Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251x1 Ausführung B. It is equipped with an MG 34 machine gun. Unteroffizier Pohl's infantry section is mounted aboard. It is commanded by Unteroffizier Munk. Finally, the Panzergrenadier Company has on-call artillery. 20 rounds of high explosive and 18 rounds of smoke. Now, let's position the troops for battle. The infantry in the woods either side of the road. The Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251 in reserve behind the wooded hill. The Sonderkraftfahrzeug 231 behind the hill, ready to move up. And the remaining armour on the road in staggered single column. And so we begin. Botcher's section moves forward through the woods, with Funk's section advancing on their left. Lieutenant Schilling's section moves up on the right flank, with Unteroffizier Hahn's section to their right. Contact! Shots ring out from the western end of Nizhny Voskhod. That did not take long. German infantry fall back. Automatic fire.
Deckung!
The Sonderkraftfahrzeug 231 moves up to put suppressing fire on the Soviet position.
Verdammt! Ich bin Deckung!
The supporting armour now pushes up the road.
Ich in Deckung!
Schilling's section has occupied the buildings at the southern end of Nizhny Voskhod. They move up through the woods. The Panzer 35s move up in support.
Zusammenbleiben.
Time for an artillery fire mission. I will allocate around half the ammunition to suppress the defenders of Nizhny Voskhod.
Feuereinsatz. Kommen. Feuereinsatz. Ende.
German forces advance up the road.
Schuss. Kommen. Schuss. Ende.
Until the artillery barrage hits, the German infantry in the woods will remain safely on the reverse slope.
Bleibt ruhig, Jungs.
200 links. Kommen. 200 links. Ende.
Schilling's section now sets up a base of fire on the right flank of Nizhny Voskhod.
Ja tak nie mogу! Infanterie gesichtet!
Almost immediately, they detect Soviet infantry.
Das! Erwischt! Erledigt! Erwischt!
Granate laden. Geladen. Feuer.
Bewegung!
The panzers and infantry unleash a deadly crossfire on the Soviets, who withdraw north.
Deckung! Bewegung!
Heavy machine gun fire from the northeast, and Grenadier Siebert is severely wounded by a bullet in the left leg and wounded by a bullet in the right leg.
Wirkungsfeuer. Kommen.
Sehe unter Beschuss!
Wirkungsfeuer. Ende.
The artillery move to fire for effect.
Feindgranate laden. Feuer. Geladen. Feuer.
Слишком много!
The panzers press their advantage. And Schilling's section moves into the village buildings. This is a good time to pause the battle and come back to the action in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for the next episode.